Rudy Carpenter, now on Rockin' Manooch on Fox Sports 910 on FM at 99.9 HD2.
All right, it's dog days this summer, so we're really pulling for ideas. We're 9 Sundays away.
Yes, we are.
From the NFL season getting underway. And, of course, Kyler Murray is one of the topics. And Rudy Carpenter joins us now, former NFL quarterback, and he joins us down the right to it guest line. How are you today, Rudy?
Probably the same thing you guys are, except it's a little worse in my house. One of my air conditioning units is out, so me and my kids are huddled up on one side of the house under the working side of the AC while the other one's getting worked on.
Oh man, you have somebody out there though? I mean, somebody out there already?
We do.
Good.
They are currently working on it.
All right, good. Well, we want to talk some football. That'll get us kind of feeling better. As the fall will be here before you know it. But, Kyler Murray, of course, a lot of, questionable when he's going to come back and questionable what the Cardinals are going to do with this whole new regime. But there was a reporter in CBS Sports that basically put him in a tier, and it was the 6th tier of quarterback rankings titled No Clue Man, and he's referring to what to expect this year. And he put him up there with Sam Howell, Jordan Love, and Baker Mayfield. You think that's accurate that you could put Kyler Murray there because we really just don't know when he's going to come back from that injury?
Kyler Murray to me is a very difficult study, and he's a very difficult guy to predict. And the reason why I say that is because when Kyler Murray is bad, he's unfortunately pretty bad. He's bad in decision making. He's careless with the football. He can turn it over a lot. There's some issues you can see with the coaching staff, or he doesn't necessarily love the plays that are being called, and I think that reflects in his stats, and it reflects in his win-loss record. On the flip side of that, when Kyler's playing really well, he's an MVP candidate, which we saw a couple of years ago, early in the season, the first 8, 9, 10 games of the year. He not only was he an MVP candidate, but in my opinion, I thought he was the clear front runner. He was by far and away, at that point in time, the best player in the entire league. So to me, it's very difficult to predict Kyler in the sense that, yes, he's coming off of an injury. Yes, he has a new coaching staff and a new system he has to learn. And if we're being honest, he's going to really run in the same system since, he's been in college. So there's a lot of ifs and what ifs and all kinds of things. But look, at the end of the day, Kyler's a smart guy, regardless of what anybody else has to say. You don't just become the number 1 overall pick because you're a dummy and be a first-round pick in baseball because you're a dummy. I think he's a smart guy. And on top of that, when he's playing well. He's got a lot of physical gifts. To me, maybe my prediction would be I wouldn't touch, making any types of bets with my own money on any type of Kyler Murray bet, good, bad, or indifferent.
Okay, I'll take that.
Yeah, you got that right. Do you see him getting time almost immediately when the doctors clear him? Or do you think they're going to handle him with kid gloves? And if they have a record of 1-5 or 1-6 at that time?
Again, that's another, if I had the answer to that question, I'd probably be the GM of the Arizona Cardinals. But knowing what I know about the NFL, which means the not-for-long league, I think the only person that would be willing to treat him with kid gloves and maybe not throw him in there and play him right away is the guy that's writing his big check, trying to, protect the investment in Mr. Bidwell. With that being said, I think if you're the coaching staff for the Arizona Cardinals, which we know that Mr. Bidwell is not afraid of firing coaches after 1 year if they perform, horrendously. And I think if you're the general manager of the Arizona Cardinals, who doesn't really have, any type of connection to Kyler Murray in the sense that he didn't draft him. I think the GM of this team, and I think the head coach of this team, and the offensive coordinator on this team, I think all of those guys understand that if you don't play well, if you don't win games, and if you get blown out, which usually is the nail in the coffin for most of these coaches, you're not going to have a job very much longer, or the job that you currently have. So in my view, I think as soon as Kyler is cleared to play, I think the GM and the head coach are going to want to get him on the field as soon as possible, especially if they believe he's the guy that gives them the best chance to win. Now, I could see Mr. Bidwell, depending on the circumstance of the season, like you mentioned, their record, he might be willing to slow walk this a little bit more to try to protect the investment and the amount of money that he's having to pay this guy. But when you are getting paid that much, you're not getting paid to sit at home and play video games. You're getting paid to go out there and put on a show for the fans. So I think that Kyler is I think the expectation from him and probably the rest of the organization is as soon as he's ready to roll, he's ready to roll.
Rudy, you feel that Kyler Murray is a generational quarterback? He has a quarterback talent, generational quarterback talent.
Look, I think a lot of these guys who are the number one overall pick in the draft are obviously we can call them generational talents. But okay. I think just Kyler in itself, I think he's a once in a lifetime, a generational talent, in himself, not just from the quarterback standpoint, but also the fact that the guy was a first-round pick in baseball.
Yeah.
He's such an interesting guy because we're so used to seeing these physical specimens. And I think, interestingly, for whatever reason, a lot of us don't necessarily put Kyler Murray in that box or that bin of a physical specimen. And we don't do that because he's not 6'4", 6'5", 230 pounds, doing, crazy stuff. But the simple fact of the matter is he is a physical freak show, and he is an incredible specimen.
3 minutes?
Yeah, he's only 5'9", but if you've ever stood next to Kyler, the dude's got some big legs.
Yeah.
He's super rocked up, jacked up, and his quick twitch and his ability to run is really, unmatched by anybody. And like I said, the dude can throw it, he can run. He's all kinds of insane physical, freak show to him. And like I said, I keep on going back to the fact that he was also a first-round pick in baseball, which to me is incredibly is huge, and it says a lot about him because unlike football, unlike the NFL,
2 minutes,
baseball is a worldwide sport. So in the NFL, you're just competing for the most part against guys in the United States, whereas in basketball and baseball, you're competing against the rest of the world. And to me, I think that's, obviously really impressive.
Rudy, with that being said, the ESPN came out with their first mock draft for 2024. They have the Cardinals with the number 1 pick overall. And, of course, a generational quarterback talent that's been mentioned quite a bit is Caleb Williams from USC. Do you feel that he will be a better quarterback or could be a better quarterback than Kyler Murray?
Again, I'm going to say what I always say when it comes to quarterbacks and when it comes to drafting quarterbacks. And I've said it on this show, I think, a million times, but it's something that I just truly, truly believe in. There's no doubt that playing quarterback is the most important position on the football team. There's no doubt in my view that it's the hardest or one of the hardest positions to play in all of sports, both physically and mentally.
1 minute.
An incredibly difficult position. With that being said, though, playing quarterback is a very reliant position. You rely on so many pieces around you. And so to me, the example that I guess I always give is nobody is ever going to convince me that when you see those fans that walk around with that Browns jersey and it has all of the names and numbers crossed out of all of the former number 1 draft picks and that they're busts.
Yeah.
You're never going to convince me that all of those guys were busts. I'm just never going to believe it. And I guess my point is your quarterback is reliant on an organization. He's reliant on the GM. He's reliant on the ownership group. He's reliant on the players and team around him. And again, to me, your quarterback's only going to be as good as the roster around him and the organization around him. And so, to me, I don't care who you have back there playing quarterback. If you don't have an offensive line that can block worth of crap, he's not going to have a chance. If you don't have wideouts that can go and make plays for you, he is not going to have a chance. If you don't have a defense and special teams, he's not going to have a chance. There's no doubt that when you have guys like Aaron Rodgers, he can make all those quote-unquote no-name receivers look really good and look better. But again, for a quarterback like Kyler or anybody else you're taking in the first round, for them to maximize their potential, they're going to need some guys around them. And right now, the Arizona Cardinals don't have that in place. They don't have the offensive line. They don't have the wide receiver core, or really as an organization, they don't have what it takes, in my view, to be able to maximize Kyler or Caleb or any other quarterback they might bring in.
Rudy, great stuff as always, buddy. Good luck with the AC unit, and we'll look forward to catching up with you in a couple weeks. Thanks for the time.
Stay cool.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Rudy Carpenter, Rudy G. Carp 12. Appreciate him taking some time.
Yeah.
He's brought to you today by All City Towing. They continue to grow. They need to hire you. Go to allcitytowing.com. They got tons of openings. They got a brand new fleet, and they need to fill it with some drivers as well as some other positions throughout their entire company. That's allcitytowing.com. Just search careers.